Thank you, Chairman. Madam Secretary, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
I hate to hover over the same subject, but I do want to bring up the voter ID law, okay, an act of law passed by a majority of the legislature, and I truly appreciate your explanation of the role of the Attorney General. That's exactly how I understood it in the federalist structure we call a Commonwealth. Whether you agree with it or not, your job as Attorney General is to enforce the legislation put forth and signed by the legislative and executive branches. And I truly appreciate, as a person who used to teach civics, that real quick primer being injected into today's viewing. Now, for all the hoopla, voter ID drummed up. And there were many, many good points made on both sides. And I agree with the gentleman from Montgomery. We don't seek to disenfranchise a soul. We got guys over in, I almost slipped and said something other than Afghanistan. We got guys over there right now who are earning it for us every day, and I'm sure all our thoughts go out to them. Now, you had mentioned the theory at the time behind voter ID was that most people already possessed some form of ID that we would find acceptable, and we draw the guidelines very broadly. But I also remember in process at the last minute, everybody got together, RSDs, bipartisan, both sides, and said, we have to come up with some kind of mechanism for people who don't drive. Let's issue a non-driving ID. We figured that would cover all the bases. How was the response to non-driving voter ID eligible, well, I want to call them a driver's license. They look just like it, only it says non-driving across the top.
I think we processed about 14,000, I have this number someplace, a total of 16,000 free ID cards through PennDOT. The vast majority were non-driver photo IDs. A much smaller number were Department of State IDs. And I will find this piece of paper here.
Oh, I'm not calling you out. I was just trying to get a ballpark.
I think what I remember is 16,380. Please don't hold me to that.
But who's counting, right?
Oh, wait, okay. All right.
16,000 of those. Now, in formulating the voter ID, I remember the number hearing that we were playing with was there were already 7 or 8 million driver's licenses out there. Now, in addition to the
9.5, I'm sorry to correct you, but
please feel free.
Drummed into my head.
My wife does it all the time. Go right ahead. How close are we to complete universality? I've got to think, out of the eligible, legally franchised voters of Pennsylvania, with 9.3 million already holding driver's licenses, and you guys churning out non-driving IDs pretty frequently, it sounds like, how close are we to having everybody legally ready to go vote? 70, 80% of the population?
I would say more than, according to the 2010 census, there are 9.6 million citizens of voting age in the state of Pennsylvania. Of those 9.6 million, 9.5 million are already in the PennDOT database. So that gives you, that's a 99% has already been captured in the PennDOT database. So, we've focused on the number of people who may not have acceptable photo ID, and this doesn't take into account people with passports or military IDs or student IDs or nursing home IDs. The question should more appropriately be asked, I think, going forward, who cannot access an acceptable photo ID and therefore be denied the right to vote? That's the important question for legislators and people in public life to ask.
They didn't tell me you had psychic abilities. That was my next question. How many people do we actually deny? And it sounds like the number is so minuscule.
We would, as I said at the beginning, the position of the Corbett administration, his directive to me was to do everything I possibly can to make sure that every eligible voter in Pennsylvania has a photo ID.
As far as efficiency goes, it sounds like we're pretty close. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for your time, Madam Secretary.
Thank you very much.